Hey guys, Bryan delivers you the goods here. I'm doing this video which is going to feature JackalGoldKick in this collab video for the 5 remakes of movies that we want to see. And the other one's going to be my own solo video about remakes that should never have happened, but at a later date. So probably like in the next few days will be the next one. So pretty much I'm here with JackalGoldKick doing this collab video, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this video. So I'm going to discuss what I'm going to talk about for the from 5 to 1, what I think movies should be remade and that were alright but could have done better. So let's dive right into this special video. Now at number 5 I choose Aragon. Honestly, this came out in 2006 and it wasn't the best film, to be honest. The original 2006 film, when they made the movie based on the book, they didn't follow the book very well, and I think they need to redo it in its own way. Because I think this movie could have had potential, but it kind of failed and flopped. So this was a movie I thought was kind of bad. So basically I think they should redo it, but make it at least 2 hours long or so. This one was like not about an hour and a half or so. It wasn't very long, and it wasn't much of a movie. So, and it leads off to leading into the next movie, Eldest, but they never did that because the Aragon movie, they didn't really go into depth of each character, how they get to that point, and close to the second and third act, it just started failing big time. So pretty much, yeah, Aragon's number 5. Number 4 is Assassin's Creed. This movie should get remade, personally. If they want to do it right, they gotta do it where they talk about the main character for the video game, Desmond Miles. They made a different character, Cal something or whatever, Callum something. I can't remember his name, but Michael Fassbender was in it. I think his acting in it was a little too wonky, meaning it wasn't that amazing of a performance. So pretty much I think the 2016 Assassin's Creed needs to be remade, but to make it much better, because the 2016 Assassin's Creed wasn't that good, personally. So I was trying to understand this movie, and once I got to really watching it, and this was before I did movie reviews and all that. I watched this movie in 2016. I saw it in theaters, and I was wrapping my head around what I watched, and then I thought it was okay for a time, and then now I realized it wasn't that great of a movie. So yeah, this movie was a big flop, but I think they should remake it. So number 4 is Assassin's Creed. Then we have Max Payne, which I personally thought was a good movie, personally, because Mark Wahlberg did pretty good in it. I know some people didn't like how the movie was a little dark and themed, and it was a pretty weird movie, but I think with what they went for with this movie, they had something interesting going for it. So I'd give this this was actually a pretty good movie in my opinion, or something I think they should redo, but make it even interesting, make it more modernized, and make it really visually amazing. I mean, the 2008 film was pretty good, I'll give it that, and I think they should either do a sequel or remake it. So personally, that's how I view it. So yeah, number 3 is Max Payne. Number 2 is Nightmare on Elm Street. The 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street really flopped big time. And I know I should be mentioning movies that are pretty good that should get remade, but this is how I am going about it personally, because personally I just I can't think of any movies that should be remade at the top of my head, but pretty much these are the movies I think should get remade, or if not, sequels mostly. Certain ones mostly. Nightmare on Elm Street was Big flop, the 2010 movie. The originals were the best. They tried to do a remake with Jackie Earl something, that actor, and him as Freddy Krueger. Please don't add him as Freddy Krueger again. Find someone that knows, that has seen the Robert Englund films and is a good actor and knows what he's doing, for the role that he would play in. But I think they should do it again, but have a really good actor playing as Freddy Krueger. So personally, Nightmare on Elm Street, I enjoyed the Robert Englund films much more, but the remake, the 2010, was a big failure. So that's my number 2. And finally, at number 1, I have The Mummy. The 2017 Mummy was bad with Tom Cruise. I don't know, I just wasn't connecting with it that much in the way I would like it. It was just a bad movie, period. When I watched it, I was like, this sucks. I'm like, the Brendan Fraser ones were better. At least try to remake this movie in a better image and make it, the storyline, seem interesting. This one didn't really do good. So I know these are supposed to be movies I think should get remakes or sequels or whatever, and positive things, but this is what I think should get remade, but in a better way. And there are some other movies I do want to mention, but I just, that's probably for a different list, for the ones I don't think deserve remakes. So pretty much, yeah, basically, that is pretty much my list. Number 1 is The Mummy, and I hope you enjoyed this, my take on what I think of the movies that I think should get remade, that I thought were okay to pretty bad. But personally, some movies should be laid to rest, mostly, like, don't try it again. But I think Max Payne was the only one that I thought was pretty good, that should get another remake, but in a better way, with where the CGI is really amazing and the storyline is really good. So, I didn't hate the original Max Payne personally, but I know some people didn't really like it, but I personally didn't hate it, personally. So, that's the one movie I'd give praise to on this list. So, I'm going to hand this over to JackalGoldKick, for his 5 movies that should get remakes, but are okay or bad. But let me know what you think of my list, and thanks for watching, and I'll hand it over to JackalGoldKick. Take it over.
What's up, YouTube? It's JackalGoldKick, and I'm here with Bryan Delivers You the Goods. And we're going to be doing a video collaboration talking about 5 movies we would like to see get a remake. Now, this is filled with movies that could either be mediocre, or they're good but they flopped and couldn't become a series, or just okay films that could be better. I don't really have anything on here that I would consider complete trash. So, but we could consider a bad movie as well being made into a good movie for a remake. So, yeah, me and Bryan Delivers You the Goods. We're going to be going through our list of 5 movies that we think need a remake. So here we go. I'll get started with my list. So number 5, I have The Warriors from the 70s. So there was supposed to be a remake of the Warriors film, but it never happened. I know there was a TV show, which is a prequel to the Warriors film, and I haven't seen the Warriors film in a very long time. I remember it being a good movie, but I really would like to see a modern, updated take on the Warriors film, because I think they could do a lot of cool things with it, especially acting and cast-wise. I mean, I can't really think off the top of my head every single actor they could have in it, but, you know, the Warriors video game was really cool, and I think if you were to do a remake of the Warriors, a modern take, it would be interesting to see what they would do with that film nowadays with modern technology, especially since it's a film from all the way back from the 70s. So I think the movie's been old enough to get a remake, and if it's done right, I think you could do a really good modern take on the Warriors film. Maybe incorporate things from the video game version. Maybe it would build up excitement about the Warriors again, and we can get a new video game or something like that. So that's my number 5 choice, the Warriors. I just think it would be interesting to see what they would do with a modern take on the Warriors film. I'm trying to think of some actors that could have for it. I mean, maybe you could have like people like Anthony Mackie and Ethan Hawke and like maybe Ving Rhames, maybe like Ice Cube, maybe like Jason Statham, maybe like, Patrick Swayze's dead now, but I think he'd be a good choice if he was still alive. You could have Batista, you could have maybe Samuel Jackson, you could have maybe Ice-T. Maybe he could be the "Can you dig it" guy. The guy who was saying Warriors come out to play with the bottles on his hands. Maybe he could be played by, shit, I don't know, Will Patton or something. I'm not really quite sure. It'd be hard to pick all the actors for it, but I would like to see it happen. Because, some movies from back in the day can have some dated aspects. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I'm not saying it's bad, but I think it would be nice to get a modern version of it. So that's my number 5 choice, The Warriors, the movie. My number 4 choice is going to be this film called The Horde. Not the zombie one, but it's from like 2015 or 2016 with, I think his name is Paul Hogan or something like that or something. Now, that movie is okay, but I think it would be a lot better if they remade this with the things I want to talk about. Because the Horde is an okay film, but I do love the concept. It's basically if you take Wrong Turn and combine it with like Rambo or Commando, basically. And it's basically this ex-military soldier goes with his wife on this trip, this like field school trip with these students, and his wife is a teacher. And essentially, he is fighting these mutated killers that he's picking off one by one, like he's Rambo in a one-man army trying to save his wife and taking out all these killers. So it's like basically Wrong Turn, but like with an action star. And the concept is very fun. And Paul Hogan, I think it's his name, he's decent in it. You got Bill Moseley on there a little bit, but the film suffers in some ways from some of the cast members. Like the one guy who was gay, he was pretty annoying. Not the best acting, and it could have had a bigger budget. And I think if you were to remake The Horde and have a more prominent action star in there and a higher budget and a better cast member uh, and a higher budget, you would have a really good film on your hands. You could get someone like, you could get Batista for the role. You could get, Frank Grillo for the role. You could get, I would even take Wesley Snipes or like Liam Neeson or Jason Statham, somebody like that to star in a remake of The Horde where they play like a badass soldier just kicking mutant ass. And you have a higher budget. Maybe you could bring Bill Moseley back and have him be more involved. And you could have, some other better cast members in there. And you can have even more action and a higher budget. And I think you would have an even better film on your hands. Because as it stands, the Horde film we do have with Paul Hogan, it's an okay film. But what helps it a lot is the concept. But it does have a lot of issues. And I think if you were to remake this film with the right cast and the right leading star and a higher budget, maybe make it even more fast paced and cut out some of the build up to it, to the soldier killing people, you would take an okay film and turn it into an amazing classic film. So that's my number 4 choice, The Horde, the 2016 Paul Hogan version. I think that film has a lot of potential if they do it right with a remake and do the things I have mentioned. So my number 3 choice is going to be the movie Ghost Rider. Now, I've been off and on with the Ghost Rider film, Nicolas Cage. I liked it back in the day. I revisited it. And I'm like, I don't like it. But then I watched it again at my grandma's. I'm like, you know what? This film ain't so bad. It's an alright superhero film. Nicolas Cage isn't bad as Ghost Rider. But for a character that is as cool as Ghost Rider, I think they could have done a lot better job for somebody like Ghost Rider. And as cool as he is, as cool as his look is, I think they could have did something a lot better. It just kind of seemed like they went a little tame and a little more PG-13 and safe with the Ghost Rider film they made, and the sequel was just completely terrible. I don't mind the original Ghost Rider film, but I think for the kind of character Ghost Rider was, he deserved a way better film, and I think Ghost Rider should get a remake. In terms of an actor, my choice would be Norman Reedus. Norman Reedus was in Walking Dead as Daryl. He's into bikes. He can do action stuff well. I think Norman Reedus would be a perfect choice for Ghost Rider. I think he would do an absolutely outstanding job. They mentioned doing something with Ghost Rider, getting Ryan Gosling, which I'm not sure about that because I'm not the biggest fan of Ryan Gosling, but I would personally want Norman Reedus. I think he would be a great Ghost Rider. Maybe even Josh Stewart from The Collector, but I think Norman Reedus would be your best bet since he's into bikes and stuff. And I think they should remake Ghost Rider, make it rated R, not PG-13, and make it more dark, have gore in there, have better CGI and effects on the villains because they were kind of iffy on the original one. Another thing I think was wasted potential, Sam Elliott in the original Ghost Rider, he was cool and he got to be Ghost Rider for a little bit, but you didn't get to see him fight with Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, which I thought was a shame. So yeah, that's my number 3 choice, Ghost Rider. As it stands, it's an okay superhero film, but for the kind of character Ghost Rider is, I think his film could have been a lot better. So if they were to do a modern reboot and remake the Ghost Rider film, make it rated R, have more action in it, better effects, better villains, and you get someone like Norman Reedus as Ghost Rider, make it more serious and dark and cut out a lot of the humor, I think you would have a really good Ghost Rider film on your hands, and it would be so much better than the original. It could possibly even lead to a franchise where you have a really good Ghost Rider series that's pretty damn solid. So that's my number 3 choice. I would be interested to see a remake of Ghost Rider. So my number 2 choice is going to be a movie called Subspecies. Now, Subspecies is a huge series. It's kind of an independent, sort of, kind of low budget vampire horror series. And I've seen those films. The first one is okay. Wasn't really a fan of part 2 or 3 or 4. Vampire Journals is alright, but still has so much potential. And I just feel like Subspecies has so much potential. And I would love to see them remake Subspecies, and if it's done right, possibly lead into a franchise and a series. Because I like the concept of Subspecies. It's about this vampire called Radul. He has a cool look. He kind of looks like Roadkill from Twisted Metal Black, and he has these very long fingers with these long fingernails. He's a cool looking vampire, Dracula type, and I like that concept. I liked the concept in one of the Subspecies films where he had like a military guy going in and trying to use his gun to take down the vampire. And I liked the environment. It was like Transylvania, and these women were going to this place to visit it, and they didn't know they were being stalked by this Radul vampire. And then there's a woman in the sequels that doesn't like him but has an off and on like kind of weird relationship with Radul the vampire. And then you also have Vampire Journals, which I like concepts about that. I love the music in Vampire Journals. I love the setting. I love the effects the vampires have when they're morphing and going to certain areas. Zachary was a cool character. I liked the actor that played Zachary, and I liked the villain in that one, Ash. He reminded me of Kane from Legacy of Kane. But that film had issues. Like, there could have been more action in it. It was kind of slow paced, and there could have been a better fight between Ash, or no, it's Zachary, and the villain, Ash. And, the series that's connected to Subspecies could also be something extraordinary, as well as the spin-off Vampire Journals. So I think Subspecies should get a remake. I would love to see a modern remake take on the Subspecies film where you have a higher budget, you have more action, you have a better cast, where maybe it's, kind of similar where there's women going to this Transylvania place, but there's some extra characters. You could have like a badass military guy go with him. I would choose John Bernthal, have John Bernthal go with him. You can have some more action, maybe throw in a few more characters, have some better actors. I'm not sure who could play Radul the vampire. I can't really think of too many people. Maybe Gary Oldman, maybe Marilyn Manson. Somebody that would fit that kind of Dracula vampire role. And you could have more action. You could have a better cast, better actors in there, and much higher budget, a little bit more action in there, and just make it awesome, and make it just completely overhaul it and completely better than the original subspecies. And if you do that and do it right and have a good actor, someone like John Bernthal or Frank Grillo or somebody in there that can actually fight a vampire and kick his ass while the women are dealing with him, you could have a really good remake on your hands. And the potential from that, if they did it right and it was successful, then you would have an entire series to go through again and make even better. You can make all the sequels much better. You could also do more with vampire journals, where you could have more action in there. You could have a better fight between Zachary and the villain of that film, and then you would just have also an even better series. And then the cop that was a recurring character in those films, get a way better actor for him, maybe change the fate of him where he actually lived instead of becoming a vampire. I would say Gene Reno, perfect. You could get Gene Reno from Leon the Professional. You could have him play the police officer, and he's like a badass, and he fights back against vampires and stuff. That would be pretty cool. Um, there's just a lot of potential for the subspecies series, and I think you want to get that started, remake the first subspecies film, give it a higher budget, give it better actors, put some more action in there, and you got yourself a really good remake. If it's done right, that would be awesome. And then you have a series that you could do a whole lot more with and do something better with. And it can also be possibly a way to make vampires popular again and make them relevant again. So that's my number 2 choice, subspecies. Would love to see a remake of it. It's got a lot of potential, especially the franchise that's connected to it. My number 1 choice, and this one kind of hurts because I would have preferred sequels with this actor, but I do like this film, Van Helsing 2004. Now look, I love Van Helsing 2004. It's a great film. I love Hugh Jackman as Van Helsing, but sadly, the film bombed, it flopped, it was not a hit, and because of that, it never became a series, never became a franchise, and they never did sequels to it, and it just really sucks because I love Van Helsing. I grew up in that film, and I don't get the hate for it, and I always wanted sequels to it because it could have been Hugh Jackman's other Wolverine type series. And sadly, the film was a flop, and I don't know why people hate the film. I loved it, and I will forever be pissed that it'll never have sequels and it'll never be continued with Hugh Jackman. So because of that, because it flopped, I would like to see a remake of Van Helsing, where you do a modern take on Van Helsing, and you remake it, and hopefully it becomes a hit. Like maybe they could use less CGI. I didn't have any issues with Van Helsing, but maybe they could find a way to do a modern remake of the Van Helsing 2004 film and make it be a hit and fix the issues people had with it. And then if it's successful, boom, you have a series where you now actually have sequels to Van Helsing. Now, if I had it my way, I know Hugh Jackman is a lot older compared to the Van Helsing days, but he's still being Wolverine in Deadpool, so fuck it. Remake Van Helsing, just get Hugh Jackman again, and make it to where it is a success, and then you can actually have sequels and make it a franchise. But if you can't get Hugh Jackman and you got to get some new blood, my personal choice would be Josh Stewart. I think Josh Stewart has a lot of potential as an actor. I liked him in The Collector. I think he was a badass in there. He's already got horror movie experience. I would choose Josh Stewart for Van Helsing in a Van Helsing remake because he has that kind of grizzled look, with his beard and hair. Maybe he could grow his hair a little bit longer. I think he would be a really good Van Helsing. Maybe there's other actors out there. You got Norman Reedus. Maybe you have John Bernthal, who played Shane. I wouldn't mind seeing him as Van Helsing. That would be pretty cool as well. Who's somebody else they could get for Van Helsing? I don't know. There's a lot of choices, but I would want Josh Stewart. I think he would be perfect for it. It would give him some more shine, since he is somewhat younger than Hugh Jackman. And yeah, that's my number 1 choice, Van Helsing. I love the film. I don't dislike it at all, but I would want it to get a remake for the simple fact that we were robbed of getting a franchise and sequels. So they could remake it nowadays, give it another shot, and if it's a success, we can finally get a series, and we can get sequels, and that would be great. So that is it for my list for 5 movies that need a remake. Hopefully, my part was good. And yeah, I know I had, more horror films on here than other genres, but it's only 5. You got to pick and choose. I at least had a superhero film in here, and I had a action, whatever the genre of the Warriors was, but a lot of the other ones was horror films. But that's my choice for 5 movies that I want to see a remake of. I could have included, Catwoman and like really bad films would be better with a remake, but there's a lot of movies out there that could use a remake. But these are just personally my choices for 5 movies that I would want to see a remake for. So that's really all I got to say for my part in this collab with Bryan Delivers You the Goods. So let us know in the comments what 5 movies that you would like to see get a remake. And like I said, it could either be something like Van Helsing, for example, where it was a good movie but it flopped and it couldn't be a series, so you want it brought back again. It could be a movie that was just okay but could be a lot better, or it could just be a really bad film that could be better with a remake. But that's it for me in this part. Peace out.